Episode 1: A replacement bride-to-be. Having recomposed herself from a fully agape mouth, she gasped, "What do you mean I must marry James?" Still attired in a long white lab coat, Emily Harper had just returned from attending college classes, when she was basically ambushed with word of the newly decided arrangement. Upon hearing the news, her heart instantly became disconcerted. She dropped all the textbooks she was carrying. This immediately caught her stepmother's attention. Deborah Harper lowered the spoon she was eating from, and momentarily gazed down upon the books that Emily had dropped on the floor. A frustrated expression overtook her countenance as she let out an exasperated huff. She spoke with an annoyed tone, "Tell me, was that done out of clumsiness, or are you throwing your attitude around? Honestly, it's an honor that the Walker family is willing to marry a member of the Harper family, so, you should be counting your blessings. Regardless of how you feel about it, you'll need to start packing up. You'll be heading off to the Walker household in just 3 days." At first, Emily was totally taken aback upon receiving the news, but after hearing her stepmother's harshly acerbic words, she had soon snapped out of the initial shock. She automatically bit down on her lip, while clenching her trembling hands and glared towards the sofa at her stepsister. She had been eating porridge while displaying an indifferent expression on her face. Her father kept his nose buried in the newspaper. She fumed in her mind, "I've been married off without knowing anything about it? I don't understand, Dad. What's this all about?" Emily's disconcerted heart had turned stone cold and she derisively sneered. "All because my stepsister betrayed James? You're expecting me to make up for it by marrying him? You all decided that I am to be the sacrificial lamb thrown into the fire pit, is that it?" Her father quickly ruffled the paper's pages a couple of times, as he ignored his daughter's questions, keeping his eyes averted down towards the newspaper while pretending not to hear her. James was the head of the Walker family, with a net worth of around $100 billion. All those in the upper echelon of Los Angeles were well aware of the fact that for nearly 3 years he was in a steady relationship with the younger daughter of the Harper family, Chloe. He was handsome and talented, while she was beautiful and affectionate, and they had planned on getting married a long time ago. However, all that had abruptly changed 3 months ago. James was involved in a car accident which left his lower body paralyzed and totally disfigured his face, transforming him into a crippled, vegetative, ugly monster. It was blatantly obvious to Emily that her sister's feelings for James had immediately diminished after the accident. Over the past 3 months she had only gone to the hospital twice, while spending most of her time with James's younger brother, Charlie. Repeatedly caught red-handed while out on the town by the paparazzi, it wasn't long before news of their illicit affair spread like wildfire. All throughout the upper echelon of Los Angeles, everyone gossiped over this scandalous topic, laughing at and mocking James. It wasn't bad enough that he had been disabled in the accident, but his beloved girlfriend had also abandoned him to hook up with his own brother. Talk about embarrassing. And not just for James, but for the Harper family as well, because everyone was also looking down on Chloe's shamefully heartless behavior of deserting her former beau after being crippled. In order to redeem themselves and save face, the Harper family wanted Emily to take her sister's place and marry James. After Emily's brief outburst, the sudden clashing of porcelain dishware smashing down heavily on the table resounded. In an elegant manner, Chloe daintily wiped the corners of her mouth with her napkin, and while a charmingly genteel smile emerged upon her exquisite face, her eyes flashed a contradictory, cold, standoffish gaze. "Emily, just who the hell do you think you are, talking about me like that? About our parents? Have you forgotten that the Harper family has graciously raised you for all these years without asking for anything in return?" That ruthlessly resolute stare had transformed into a maliciously malevolent glare, looking as if she wanted to tear Emily apart as she raised her voice. "Is this how you repay the Harper family? If that's the case, as far as I see you have no place in this house." Emily momentarily lost her composure, tightly closing her eyes as she briefly hyperventilated. After settling down and managing to compose herself, she immediately went on the defensive and retaliated. "Hey, and just exactly how much of a noble do you think you actually are? Perhaps you've forgotten, but back in the beginning, your mother was nothing more than my father's mistress. Once my mother passed away, this so-called family chiefly relied on living off of the property she left behind. And you have the audacity to stand there denouncing me to my face? You really are pathetic, you know that? I might have even felt a little sorry for you if I weren't so disgusted by you." "Emily!" her father sharply bellowed as he finally put the newspaper aside. He reproachfully frowned at her. "Is that really how you should be talking to a sister? And your older sister at that?" She had long given up on her father since learning that he had a mistress, which in her eyes was totally towards her mother. She stood there with a stoic expression and indifference in her eyes before just simply rolling her eyes at him. He went on, "And what exactly is your problem anyway? The Walker family is one of the most prominent and wealthiest families in all of Los Angeles. Heiresses and socialites would line up for miles just to have a chance to be in their presence. But, here you are, an impudent girl who, for God only knows why, somehow feels wronged by having to marry James and become the wife of one of the most eligible bachelors in all of high society." Emily almost burst out into an uproarious laughter after hearing that, nearly biting off her tongue while trying to keep from laughing in his face. "Dad, do you really think that I'm actually that stupid? Do you honestly take me for a fool or what? If James is really as wonderful as you claim him to be, then why didn't Chloe marry him while she had the chance? She was with one of the most eligible bachelors for 3 years, yet after being with Charlie for only 3 months, it's true love. Seriously, Dad, who are you trying to lie to?" Emily glanced over at her sister and impishly grinned while flippantly quipping, "Or is Chloe actually that stupid?" Chloe abruptly jumped to her feet and tightly pursed her lips. A melancholic visage suddenly overtook her, then she slowly raised her hand and ominously pointed at Emily almost as if she was warning her, "Who I choose to be with is no concern of yours, so shut your mouth. What you need to focus on now is becoming James Walker's wife. Because if you don't, well, then don't go blaming me for being impolite." Right after that an unnerving silence befell the room and a mounting tension permeated the air. Her father so badly wanted to scold her for her insolence, but reluctantly refrained from saying anything. Truth was, he reminded himself that Emily was supposed to be marrying into the Walker family soon and he would need her help in dealing with them. Essentially, she would soon be the liaison between the Walker and Harper families. Deborah, on the other hand, wasn't looking that far down the road and was only brooding about their present conversation. With an evident touch of resentment in her tone, she scornfully chided her stepdaughter. "Is it really necessary for you to look down on us? Especially since it's already hard enough as it is for us to fix you up with such a wealthy family to marry into, allowing you to enjoy a happy life? I suggest you check that attitude of yours, young lady, and be more gracious in accepting this marriage arrangement. Because if you refuse us this time, next time an offer of marriage comes around you might not."